The goal is not just to make money, we also want to keep the money that we make so we can never be broke again.
No dough, no show.
Alright, so tip number one, and this is the most important one that I'm going to give you at the start, is to make more money. Now, this is pretty obvious, right? The number one goal should be to make more money. You can cut down your expenses and only buy the things that are essentials. You can stop buying your morning latte, or you can stop buying that avocado toast. Yeah, sure, you can do all these cost-cutting methods and you can end up with more money in your bank account than you would have if you hadn't done those things. But you're not learning to increase your value, learn new skills, and expand your horizons. By cutting expenses and living the same way and not changing your income or trying to change your income, all you're doing is you're just learning how to constrict yourself more and more and more. And it gets to a point where it's almost like, what's the point of doing this? Like, where is the end goal? To focus on making, obviously you want to make sound decisions and not spend your money on silly things, especially when you can't afford them. But make your number one goal to increase your income. And you might be wondering, how on earth do I actually increase my income? And fundamentally, it comes down to increasing your value. And that can mean a few things. It could mean the value of, in terms of how much knowledge you have. You can increase your knowledge. You can go study a certain topic and you can become an expert in that topic. And you can teach that to someone else. Or you can work in a field where your expertise and knowledge is very useful for someone. You can learn a new skill to provide a service. You can learn to, design something. You can create something and sell it and provide it out there into the market. And, that could be a way to increase your value. And if you simultaneously increase your value and also increase the amount of people you provide your value for, that's when you make the big money. Now, if you're someone who's pretty young, I'm talking someone who's in high school maybe, they haven't finished high school yet, you can increase your value. You can make an online business. There's so many things you can do. There's people who are making, tens and thousands of dollars a month at a young age who have barely finished high school. It's entirely possible. And while that's a great thing to aim for someone who's a bit younger, I would encourage to maybe pick up a second part-time job. You might already be working a part-time job. I would encourage you to pick up a second part-time job. You can, work somewhere, you can get that experience. And I think it's very humbling for someone to work for someone else at a young age. Get that experience. I think it teaches you a lot of things. It teaches you time management, right? You have a scheduled shift you have to get to. You have to fit your whole life around that. It teaches you time management, teaches you discipline, teaches you perseverance, because it's not fun working for someone else. You have to listen to your boss, you have to deal with annoying co-workers. There's a lot of drama that comes with working for someone else. And you get to be exposed to that and you learn these key life lessons at a young age. So that's why I encourage you, go find a job. Go work a job. Go work 2 jobs if you can. Get that experience, okay? Now, if you're someone who is a little bit older, you're, let's say, in university, or you're about to finish uni, or you're in the middle of university, in that sense, what I personally did was I was working a part-time job. So I used to work at a supermarket where I was basically the person who would scan your groceries and put through the payment and ask you to pay for the groceries, right? That was my part-time job. And I would do that 3 to 4 times a week. I'd have a shift in that job and it was easy money. It wasn't very physical. It was good. And on the weekends, I would actually work as a DJ. Right? So towards the end of high school, I taught myself how to DJ by myself by watching YouTube tutorials, asking people to see what I'm doing, if it sounds good, getting feedback, and just really just self-teaching myself these skills. And eventually led to me doing house parties, and then my name just spread from word of mouth, and I would do a bunch of house parties. I did a lot of 18th birthday parties for people when I was in high school. Then it went on to me doing 21st birthday parties. I, made connections and I networked with other DJs, and when they were booked out, I would do their gigs. When I was booked out, they can cover for my gigs. And, I made this network and I was able to make really good money. I was making, this is a couple of years ago, so inflation and everything has changed things a bit and people earn a bit more money now as well. Alright, so my hourly rates from my supermarket job was about $23 per hour, roughly, okay? When I was DJing, I was making about $60 per hour. I was earning almost 3 times more per hour from that skill that I learned. And yes, there was a lot of time investment. I had to buy my own equipment. There was an investment, firstly up front, and also by me putting in the time, putting in the hours, practicing after school on my spare time. There was sacrifice, but that allowed me to build a skill and build my own business that allowed me to earn substantially more than I was earning from my regular job working for someone else. And of course, when you have your own business, there's a lot of tax deductions you can do. I had my car under my business, my old 2006 Honda Civic. I had under my business, and I can depreciate the value of my cars under my business. A bunch of things I'm not going to get into in this video, but you get the general idea, right? There's so many ways you can make more money. So increase your value. If you're working a full-time job right now, let's say you're working 40 hours a week. That's the average number of hours for a full-time job, right? I want you to spend 10% of that, so 4 hours a week extra. I want you to spend learning a new skill and increasing your value, okay? Either learning a new skill or learning new information that'll help you increase your value. Because if you get stuck in the trap of just working your shift, you clock in, you clock out, you make that bag, you go home, and then the rest of your spare time, you might be in the gym, you might be like doing other stuff, seeing friends and family. But if you're not going to work on increasing your value, then how can you expect anything to change? You have to make these small changes and tweaks in your lifestyle if you want some, drastic changes to happen. So that is my advice. And if you're someone who's, kind of like peaked in their career and you've kind of reached a ceiling and you don't really have anywhere higher you can go, well, firstly, congratulations. And secondly, if you still have the itch to do more, then maybe you can take the knowledge and the skills you currently have and you can teach that to people who want to be where you are. And you can earn another income by doing that if that's something you want to do. Or you can just teach people for the sake of, making yourself feel better, and it might, give you a feeling of accomplishment. So that's definitely something you can consider as well. Now, tip number 2, this is very important. I think overall, this should be the most important financial goal to first set. Before you start investing your money or, diving into anything else, you need to set up an emergency fund. Now, the purpose of an emergency fund is to basically have a sort of lifeline to support you when unexpected things happen in life. Could be things like a medical emergency that comes up. You might need a surgery or like an emergency procedure. You might have like a random one-off expense that comes up. Someone in your family might need your help financially, or you could lose your job. Life is very unpredictable, and the older you get, the more you realize that. So it's essential to have an emergency fund that can cover your essential expenses for, between 3 to 6 months. I would say everyone should aim to have at least a 3-month emergency fund. Ideally, you want to have a 6-month emergency fund. To work out how much you need to have saved for your emergency fund is very, very easy, okay? You need to have a budget, and not to monitor your expenses, that's also important, but for the sake of this tip, you want to make the budget to work out what your essential expenses are. So these are things like your rent, your utility bills, your phone bill, your groceries, health insurance and any other personal insurance, cost of running a car, and any other essentials that you need to maintain yourself at the bare minimum. Nothing extra like going shopping or anything like that, just the bare essentials to keep you alive and running and keeping a roof over your head and, making sure you have access to like electricity, water and gas and all these things, right? You need to work that out. Easiest way to do that, go to the description of this video. There'll be a link where you can get a free budget tool, okay? Absolutely free, no cost to you. It's something I made on Excel. It's a free budget template. You just gotta input in the individual expenses you have each month for each different category. It'll give you a total of your expenses. You can also put in how much money you make a month, and it'll give you, your remaining amount, right? It'll be like a monthly budget planner. It's what I use personally, and I'm giving it away to you guys for free as well. Now, take that, just put in your bare essential expenses, right? Let's say, your total of all those types of expenses is like, let's say $2,000 a month, for example, okay? $2,000 a month, multiply that by the number of months that you want to set up the emergency fund for. So if you want a 3-month emergency fund, 2,000 times by 3, $6,000. That's how much you need to have saved for a 3-month emergency fund in this example, okay? So go ahead and do that. That is tip number 2. All right, so the third and final tip is to pay off your debts. This kind of goes in line with everything I've talked about at the start of the video, okay? If you're not managing your finances, you're not tracking your expenses, you don't have an emergency fund set in place, the minute a financial emergency happens, an unexpected expense happens, you don't have the money to cover that. What do most people do? They fall into the trap of borrowing money. This could be payday lending services. It could be getting a personal loan or maxing out their credit card. Whatever it is, if you're already in this position, you need to get out of it. You need to pay off your unnecessary debts. The best way you can do this, it's called the snowball method. You want to list down your debts in the order of smallest to largest. So you have your smallest debts and you write it down in the order, okay? So let's say you've got a debt for $500, another one for $1,000, another one for $3,000, okay? The easiest way to pay off your debts, okay, this is not the most ideal way, but this is psychologically the easiest way. The snowball method, you pay off the smallest one first and you move in that order. It's obviously going to take you a lot less time to pay off the $500 debt than it is this hypothetical $3,000 debt. So you pay off the small one first, you build a bit of momentum by doing that. You learn the habits of, putting aside some extra money to pay off the debts. You build that sort of positive feedback loop, right? You build the habits, you pay off the debt, that's your reward. You feel kind of good about it. You get a bit of a dopamine hit. So you build that snowball effect, as the name says, and you pay off all your debts in that way. That's how you do it. Not the most ideal. Ideally, you want to pick the debts that have the highest interest rate and you pay that off first, but that's a whole different video. I want to keep this a bit more simple, so that is tip number 3. Alright boys, so nice and quick video today. Those are my 3 tips. If you want to watch more videos from a small creator who likes to give actionable advice on how to actually improve your life, then press subscribe and I'll see you in the next video. Until next time.